Hi y'all, this is Dina and welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new, I am a homeschooling mom of 4, 5 and under. And in today's video, I am going to share with you how we do read alouds with littles. So stay tuned. Okay, so a little bit background about myself. I'm going to say something that I don't normally proclaim to the world, but I am not a reader. Is that okay to say? I don't know, because I am always surrounded by moms and dads and just a whole bunch of people who just love to read. They just absorb books, and while I like the idea of reading, I don't actually like the act of reading, and I don't enjoy it as much as a lot of people do. For example, my husband loves to read and he can soak up books left and right, but I was just never a big reader. But when we had kids, I knew I wanted to instill a love of reading with them because I understand the benefits of reading. And I understand the benefits of enjoying to read. So I didn't want them to kind of get my lack of enjoyment, so to speak. I don't know how else to say that. But I always feel kind of alone when I say that I am not a reader. So if you're not a reader, comment below. Help me out. Help me feel better. If you are a reader, I love you. You're wonderful. We can still be friends. So when we first started our classical conversations, which is kind of a homeschool co-op, there's no real other way to describe it, but it's more than a co-op. So for those of you who know classical conversations, it's a community. And so it's a Christian, what do they call it? Classical Christian community. So when we joined that, my director challenged all of us to do certain things before the beginning of the year. And one of those things was to read the book Teaching from Rest by Sarah Mackenzie. And again, not a big reader. So what I discovered was Audible. Audible is amazing, where you can get all kinds of audiobooks, sometimes read by the author, which is great. And so I can do that while I'm cleaning the house. I plug in my earphones, carry around my phone in my pocket, and I just listen to books. And so in that sense, I've read a lot of books in the last year. So because I read Teaching from Rest, I also read or listened to Read Aloud Revival by Sarah Mackenzie. And that book just opened my eyes to the amazement and wonder and imagination that you can develop in your kids through these books. And they don't have to be lengthy books. They could just be picture books, especially with the kids my age, 5 and under. And it was such a blessing to be able to listen to that and know that reading a book isn't schoolwork. It is something that you can do for pleasure. So I made it a point to make read alouds a priority in our home. So the first thing I knew I wanted my kids to be exposed to and wanted them to read and develop a love for was God's Word. Was the Bible. So that was the first thing that I kind of created a routine around, I guess. And I'm not going to go too much into how we do that, but I do count it as my read aloud time, so I wanted to mention it. There's a few other resources that we use along with the Bible. I do have a video about that, so I can link it up at the top below, so that way you can check it out. It's super simple, super easy. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm a simple girl. I don't like a lot of complicated things. So check that video out. So that's the morning time. We do that at breakfast. And then we also do a Bible time at night with my husband. But I knew I wanted a little bit more, because while I wanted the Bible to be kind of the center and the focus of our reading and of our lives, I also know that it's important to also read, the classics and just read picture books with the kids and just kind of have fun with them as far as books and reading go. So I started utilizing our local library, and it's been wonderful. We go to story time, and that's what's wonderful about being able to homeschool, is that we can go to story time, and especially during the school year, there's not a whole lot of people there, and it is just great. And it's perfect for all of my aged kids. They get up, they dance, they play, the librarian reads to them. It's just a wonderful time at story time that my kids always enjoy it. Whenever I say, okay, today's library day, they get up with no problems. But having them being able to go to the library and seeing all of those books and just being able to pick some out, I love that. I used to let them pick out however many books they want, but we've gathered such a collection from our library that now they can only pick one book a week, because then we will have the whole library at our house, and I'm not ready for that. So that would be my first, I guess, tip, if you want to call it that, is going to your local library and letting them just see other kids reading, letting them see other people reading to them, and just utilizing all of those resources and events. They have so many opportunities at your local library, so go check it out. I guess the next tip would be to read during a meal. Turn on your listening ears. Whether that be snack time or lunch time or dinner time or breakfast time, having their little mouths busy and their little hands busy makes all the difference. You can always try to give them a toy or anything like that, but I just found with our family, the best time to do it is just during lunch. And when I do read to them during lunch, I try to read chapter books, because I know that they can't sit for those outside of a meal time. For example, right now we are reading Charlotte's Web, and it is so good, you guys. Okay, and so here's another confession. I have never read Charlotte's Web before. That's got to be like against the law for a homeschooling mom or something, right? So I am enjoying this book just as much as these kids are, and I just love reading out loud to them. I had no idea that I would love doing this. And just watching their little expressions on their face, you know, when something happens, or hearing them talking about it later on, or connecting dots like Charlotte and her web and then seeing a spider web, or the book talks about Charlotte wrapping up a bug, you know, and then drinking the blood or something like that. So whenever now they see a fly, they're like, oh, look, a spider kills that and drinks it. Oh, this video is going downhill quick. Now, I have been asked, well, then when do you eat? And that is a very good question. I eat right before the kids eat. I am pregnant, so I used to just wait and eat after, but now I cannot. And for you mamas who have felt this hangriness of pregnancy, you understand what I'm talking about. This mama just can't wait to eat anymore. So, for example, if I'm making them a sandwich, I make my sandwich first and then I eat it while I'm making the rest of their sandwiches. And I know that might not seem, I don't know, that might not seem very glamorous, or some people like really enjoy to just sit down. But in all honesty, my sit down meal with the kids isn't very peaceful anyway. It's more peaceful when I'm reading to them. So I would rather just eat standing up, kind of on the go, and then have that reading time with them than to just sit down and eat with them. And that's just my personal preference. But again, you can do it during snack time. It doesn't have to be a meal. Just give them something to eat with their little hands and their little mouths. You can also do something like a craft or a coloring page or something like that. But I found that my kids still like to talk during those times. So having their little mouths full makes it just a little bit more peaceful and a little bit more enjoyable for everyone. Now, don't get me wrong. It still gets a little bit chaotic and they still ask questions. I mean, they're little, 5 and under, and there's 4 of them. So it's still a little bit chaotic. Don't picture us around the table all dressed in our best and sipping our tea and reading a classic, eating an apple. Don't picture that, because that's not what is happening, okay? But this is something that has been working for us. So we do Bible time during breakfast, which is our reading time. And then we do lunch and literature is what I like to call it. And that I did not come up with that with my brain. I heard that somewhere else and I can't remember where. It's probably called that a few different places by a few different people. And then I usually try to read them a few books in the evening time if we have time. I mean, if we don't have time, it's okay because I've already read to them twice. So around evening time, kind of the lull after dinner that's, so there's not quite bedtime, but it's not really enough time to do anything else, I tell them, okay, everybody go pick a book. And we have a basket that has all of our library books in the living room. So they can either grab a book from there, or they each have their own personal library in their rooms. So they can choose from whichever library they want to choose from. So they each can bring me one book. And then we sit on the couch, kind of cozy up with our blanket, and they just get around and they read. And it's just so neat. I love those times. And my oldest girl, she just enjoys it so much. I just love seeing the look on her eyes when she's just like absorbing everything that I'm reading when I'm reading during lunch. I could just see the love of reading just growing in her. And I always kind of chalked it up to, well, my husband loves to read, so, she got a lot of that probably. And that's probably true. But now I can see it with my 4-year-old, and now even with my 2-year-old, she enjoys reading. And what's wonderful is that now my 5-year-old is starting to get so good at reading, because that's one of the benefits of reading out loud to them. But she's getting so good at it that now she's reading to her siblings. And that's just so wonderful to see. I just love them sitting around a book together and her reading to them out loud and her trying to make all the different voices. It is just so cute and such a blessing. And I just thank God that He just guided me to a place where I can kind of go out of my comfort zone for the benefit of my children. And again, it gets a little bit crazy sometimes and they start to jump and do all these crazy things. But as they're growing just a little bit older, I can just see them being able to pay attention a little bit longer and being able to sit a little bit longer and understanding what I'm saying when I'm reading these books, recognizing words that they're learning in the books that we're reading. And so it really is just a special time. So kind of to sum it all up, for our reading time, we do breakfast in the morning, which is our Bible time or devotional time. Then we do lunch and literature, which I try to do a chapter book during that time. And then we do like 2 or 3 picture books in the evening. Again, not every evening, not every day, just when we have the time to do it. But we always do Bible time at night. So that's kind of how we do read alouds in our home. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it kind of inspired you guys to go out there, use your library, grab books from thrift stores or from garage sales, from Amazon, just wherever you can find them, whatever piques your little one's interest, and just start reading. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. You can do that right now, right after this video, if you wanted to go do that. So I hope this video was encouraging. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and let me know if you do read alouds, how old your kids are, what books you like to read if you do have read aloud time, because I'm always looking for recommendations for books. And let me know if you'd like to see a video about what we use for our read aloud books. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see y'all later. Bye.